You all should be seeing something that simply says laumc.org. That is the conference website. That is where you can go to find most of the things that we are talking about today. I'm just going to quickly run through where to find this statistical material on our webpage and then jump into the table itself. So if you go to laumc.org, on the first page, you will see this. And then you will see two opportunities to reach the statistical material. You can go to that picture under statistical data entry. If you click the picture, you'll get there. Or also in the menu to the left, you can see statistical data entry. Once you click either one of those, you will see this screen. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you will see this. Want to make clear that there are two things, two places for forms. We have downloadable worksheets, and then we have online data entry. So these are your worksheets. This is instructions. It includes PDF copies of all the tables and things that you will need. If you download them, be sure that you save them to your computer. They are fillable, but if you don't save on your own computer, you lose everything that you put in. No entry there will last to the will be uploaded to the internet. This is strictly for your benefit to gather the material to be able to enter the information online. If you'd like to download all the forms at one time, you can click that little button and it will be one big file where all the documents can be found. Once you've completed all of those worksheets, you can then come back to this page and click that button. And when you click that button, it will take you to a screen that looks like this. Your username is your 6-digit GCFA number. If you are saying, what? Where do I find that? Well, there are a couple of places. It should have been placed at the top of your charge conference forms. So if you have a copy of those, you can find it there. You can find it on the report that comes to you about your apportionment payments and bills due, so to speak. That number will be listed on that document. You can also call your district office and they can give you that number. Once you've entered that, the password is unique to your church. It is the same password that you use to enter the online leadership for the charge conference forms. We do not keep those passwords. So you can't call us and ask for the password, but you can click that forgot password, and that will email the people who run this app for us, and they will send an email with your password or a reset option. But here's the catch. It will send that email to whoever is the last person to sign in with that email. So for example, if you weren't the one that filled in the charge conference forms, it might be that other person that email goes to. So if you don't get an email return under that, check first with other people in your church to see if they got one. And if that doesn't work, let me know, and I will find a way to get you your password. Once you have entered your password and username and password, you will see a screen that looks something like this. Click that statistics button, and then this should pop up, and you should be able to click that as well. And then you should see, you may see your church's name that you have to click, or it may go directly to this view. Mine's a little different because I have administrative rights, so it doesn't show up exactly like yours would, but this is where you eventually end up. So this is where you actually enter the online information that you have put on those PDF worksheets. If you notice this bar at the top, that is where you choose which table you would like to enter. So that is there for you, and that's basically the overview of how to get started. Any questions so far? If I did miss some, I will make sure that we come back to it. So now we're going to move into actually doing table one. Table one is primarily about membership. There are only two financial questions, but table one is all about membership. So this is the top of the table. A couple of quick things here. Again, you will see, hopefully, sorry, give me a second. Oh, there it is. Oops, too far. So at the top right, you see again your church conference number, which can be found on the same places as those as the GCFA number. Put those on your form. You will also see your church's employer identification number, or EIN. Every church should have one. So you can't use the conference's EIN number. If you are on a charge, there should be an EIN number for each individual church. If you don't have one, you'll need to deal with the IRS in getting one. And I or your district office or Sandy in the conference office may be able to point you in the right direction. Also, just know that if you're on a multi-point charge, the charge name goes in the blank to the left. Your individual church name goes in the blank to the right. You are only filling out information for your particular church, but we do need to know if your church is on charge. This section here, it is highly unlikely that you are anything other than a chartered church. We don't really have any of those other categories in our conference. So that gets you into the meat of the table. Breeze through some of these entries for a bit. This first block must be the same ending number that you had last year. So if you have last year's forms, be sure that whatever you had as your ending membership number starts with your beginning number for this year. in the online table, that number will be automatically filled out for you. If for some reason it is not, or it doesn't appear to be correct, let your district office or me know, and we will find a way to make that right. I want to talk about 2C for a minute. Membership restored by affirmation of faith. Some people think that this is for folks who have been away for a while and have come back and kind of rededicated themselves to the church, which is a wonderful thing. However, statistically, that is not what this line asked for. If a member who has been restored by affirmation of faith is a member who has either previously withdrawn from membership or was removed by charge conference action and has not joined any other church. So this is for people who aren't members anywhere in any church, in any denomination, but they used to be a member of your church. They can simply say, I want to be a member again. You make them a member again, and that's the number that goes on this line. The important piece is from no membership anywhere to being restored to membership in your church. If they left for a while and joined another church and then want to come back to you, treat that as a transfer, either from another United Methodist church or from a non-United Methodist church. I want to look at these categories, 2D and 3C. Sometimes we find that when we look at our membership books, our names and numbers don't exactly match up, and the numbers that we had last year aren't correct for some reason. We just can't reconcile why our numbers aren't right. So if, for example, you find you have 500 names on your roll, but only list 400 members, you could theoretically put in line 2D the number 100, and that would make your ending number correct. Likewise, you could say that you have 500 on your roll, but can only find 400 names to match. Then you would put 100 in line 3C, and that would make your ending number match. Theoretically, you don't need numbers in both of those boxes. The net difference is all we're looking for. So, for example, you find 6 names that shouldn't be there and 10 numbers that don't. You don't have to put 10 and 6. Just put the difference of 4 in either the addition or the correction. It may help you internally to match names and numbers if you are actually taking names off the roll that were previously removed. But for our purposes, we really don't need, we just need the net number. If you put a number in both boxes, as long as the math works, it's okay. But again, we're just looking for the net. Next, these numbers are all about additions to your membership. If you have any numbers in these boxes, they need to correspond to names written on the pastor's report. So what you see here is an excerpt from that table 1 at the top and an excerpt from the pastor's membership report from the bottom. So these 3 received by profession of faith through confirmation, other than confirmation and affirmation of faith. So if you say, if you have 4, the number 4 in each of those, On the pastor's report under 2A, you actually need to list 12 names. The same is true for transferred in from another United Methodist church. If you have a number 6 in that blank, you need 6 names on the pastor's report under 2B, and likewise from non-United Methodist, 6 names. So whatever addition numbers you have in this section of Table 1 need corresponding actual names on the pastor's membership report. The same will be true for the subtraction numbers. So all numbers in this section are subtracting from your previous year's membership. So again, the numbers at the top, removed by charge conference action and withdrawn, would go under 3A of the pastor's report. Transferred out to other United Methodists would go under 3B. Transferred to non-United Methodists, 3C, and deceased, 3D. Again, any numbers in that in the 3 box will need to have corresponding names on the pastor's membership report. Any questions there? Carly, if I'm missing questions, can you just send me a text and I'll unscreen? Oh, there's one.
Yep, there's one that just popped up. How do I get a copy of last year's report?
Okay. You can either look in your church files, call your district office, or the same place where you go to enter this data. Let me see if I can't get you back there. But at the very beginning, where when you first logged in, you saw a sign that said statistical statistics. If you click that and you don't do entry, there's another place. No, I'm sorry, I take that back. You click all of that, but you change the year. There's a place where you can put the year, and all your previous statistical data is in there. Let me do this so that doesn't sound so confusing. So on this, in this place, when you get to here, it's a little bit off screen, but just to the left at the top, you see those 2 small little arrow buttons. That will give you the chance to change the year, and you can print from previous years. You also see that your previous year's numbers are listed in this particular section of the entry portal as well. Carly's put the district emails in the chat for you if you need those. This section is pretty self-explanatory. It is where you simply put in the number of ethnicities for your membership. A couple of things to note here. Multiracial does not mean that your congregation is multi-ethnic, but an individual is themselves, that they designate for themselves that they have a heritage of more than one ethnicity. So everybody wants to be an open and inclusive congregation, but putting your entire membership in this category is not helpful. So this is persons who identify as having more than one ethnic heritage. The other thing to keep in mind is that this total must equal line 4. In the online entry, this is self-calculated, and it will not let you proceed to submit the table until these numbers match. And the same is true when we get to gender. However people identify is the numbers that go in those male and female blanks. And this number also must equal line 4. If, again, online, it won't let you submit the table. Average attendance at all weekly worship services. This is for in-person services only. If you are only doing online services, you can count that, but this is for weekly, regular. This is what we do week in and week out. It does not include special services like Christmas Eve, Watch Night services, Ash Wednesday services, Good Friday services, Maundy Thursday services, July 4th services. This is primarily your principal worships for the week. Now, it does not necessarily have to be the ones at your sanctuary. For example, if you do a worship service at a nursing home every week, you can count that in your average. If this is one member going out and playing tambourine and singing a couple of songs and saying a prayer, that may not quite count. But anything that is your regular worship service, whether it is in your primary location or somewhere else, will be averaged into that number. Not included in that number is your online worship attendance. There is not currently a good way to calculate this number because of the variety of platforms that people are using for the streaming of their services, nor consistency in how different platforms count who is actually viewing and watching what is happening. What we ask is that you simply have integrity with this number. Also, this number does not include TV broadcast. So if KSLA says that you reach 200,000 people with your television broadcast on Sunday, that number doesn't go here. This is your specifically offered online services. We do suggest that as much as you can, ask people to either sign in, to leave some message in the chat, to actually download, so that you can get a better idea of what those numbers are. But again, do your best. This number does not affect apportionments. It doesn't make your pastor look better. It doesn't make your DS look better. Just it is an increasingly important number for us to be able to track and to use in mission planning. So do your best. Next is baptisms. You'll note that they're divided by age, 12 and under, 13 and older. That line 8 is automatically calculated for you. To be clear with a line that will come later, these are persons only baptized in the current year. So these are not previously baptized. These are folks baptized in the current year. These two need names attached to them on the pastor's report. So again, you see from table 1, the appropriate lines at the top. From the pastor's report, line 1, this total, if you have 20 names as being baptized, you need to list the number 20 on line 8. You need 20 names under line 1 of the pastor's membership report. The other thing to keep note of is if you will keep copies of this pastor's report, when 5-10 years down the line, you want to know, well, did we take this person off the roll or didn't we? You can actually go back and figure out, if you have names on these reports, what your accurate membership list should be, because you may find their names listed there as either having been baptized or removed or transferred. So the names on the pastor's report is not only important for us, but for your future work as well. This section, questions 9 and 10, can be confusing as well, because it does ask about baptism to an extent. This number is a cumulative total of the people who have been baptized at your church but have not become professing members. Professing members are those who have stood in front of the church and said, I profess Jesus Christ as my Savior, and I promise my prayers, presence, gift, service, and witness to this congregation of United Methodist Church. So this is a cumulative number of everyone in your church who has been baptized but has not joined the church. Typically, this is folks anywhere from infancy to just prior to confirmation age. You will sometimes find adults on this list, but that is the primary makeup of it. This next number are people who are active in your church. You have pastoral responsibility for them, but they have never been baptized anywhere. So they are not baptized at all. Now, sometimes we don't really know or track who visiting with us as regular visitors has been baptized someplace else or not. And if you want to include them here, that's fine, because the important number is who is at your church that you have pastoral responsibility for. One of the reasons to also pay attention to who has been baptized and not is that you are not just trying to get them to join your church and up your membership numbers, but you also want to show care for their souls and have your pastor teach them about the meaning of baptism and actually offer an invitation to be baptized at some point as well. This too is one of the most confusing pieces on the table 1. They call these Christian formation groups, but the easiest way ten does not include associates and affiliate numbers. Those aren't really tracked anywhere because their membership is counted on their primary church's membership. So we do not take numbers for affiliate and associate members. I missed that last one, but I will circle back to it. Christian formation groups, think Sunday school. So this is what you would normally see as your normal, traditional, this is what grandma drugged me to Sunday school every morning. The reason that the general church calls it Christian formation groups rather than Sunday school is because internationally and nationwide, there are churches who do this not on Sunday. So you may have these kinds of classes on Wednesday or Saturday evening, but think Sunday school. And that is what they're asking for in this particular section. Note that you count participants only once. So this would be a cumulative total of how many unique individuals attended a Sunday school class over the course of the entire year. So if you have 10 people an average attendance of 10 people every Sunday, but you alternate 5 of those only come every other week, your unique number is likely to be 15 instead of 10. So you get, this is looking for the unique individuals who have attended Sunday school throughout the entire year. Leaders of classes are included in their own age group. For example, that they give here, if you have an 18-year-old who is teaching a second grade Sunday school class, you count them as a young adult, not as a child. So you can see then that these are broken up by age groups, and it just makes sense. Line 11 will total for you, and I'll come back to another piece of that later. These numbers are also somewhat self-explanatory. How many did you have in confirmation class? This is not determined by age. So if you do a confirmation class for your 6-year-olds and you happen to have also an adult confirmation class, both numbers would be both groups would be included in this number. Average attendance at all Sunday school classes, that would be those Christian formation groups from earlier. This, is an average attendance. Over the course of a month, if you have 10, 12, 10, 12, 10, 12, then your average would be 11. It's simple math there over the course of the year. Number of people in vacation Bible school. This can include the leaders as well. The number of ongoing Sunday school classes offered. So this is strictly the number of classes, not about people. However, you need to pay attention to the number of classes and the average attendance. For example, if you have 12 Sunday school classes and an average attendance of 8, that means that 4 of your classes didn't have anybody for most of the year. So just make sure that there is a correlation between the number of classes that you offer and the average attendance. There is also a slight correlation between the total CFG number as well. So this would be small groups that meet, not necessarily Sunday school type, but that doesn't mean they can't be educational. This is groups that, this could be support groups, it could be Bible studies, it could be book clubs, but the key here is that they meet year-round. So this is not a short-term study, this is an ongoing study. It doesn't matter whether they meet weekly, monthly, semi-monthly, or however, as long as it is basically at least once a month and throughout the year, that would be included here. Your short-term studies, such as an Advent study or a Lenten study, a short-term Bible study, a short-term grief group, those numbers will go on line 17. So again, the difference between 16 and 17 is the longevity of the group. Anything that has a short term to it will go on line 17. I know there are a couple of questions hanging there. I'm going to go through just a couple of slides here, and then we'll circle back and answer those questions. You do have here a question about United Methodist Men and the amount that they pay for any projects. You also have, United Methodist Women. Note that I know that the name is now United Women of Faith. These forms are given to us by the General Church, and they only change them after a General Conference year. So you will see that name change in next year's documents. That's why it still says UMW here. So both for the women and for the men, these are for actual chartered groups. So if you have a group of Methodist women who meet but aren't chartered by the United Women of Faith or the UMW organization, those don't really go here. Those would be counted as your long-term small group. The same thing for United Methodist Men. If it's not chartered by the General Commission on United Methodist Men, then that would not go here. That would go in your long-term United Methodist your study groups. Number I'm sorry, let me see if I can get back there. Number of UMVIM teams sent from your local church. VIM stands for Volunteer in Mission. So again, this is not any mission trip you take. This is an official Volunteers in Mission. So that is an organization that both exists at the conference level and at the general church level. So if you have a VIM team that goes somewhere that doesn't count, this is only for official VIM teams from your church. There is also a place, I'm sorry, I need to clear something on my screen. So there is also a place to put the number of people from your church who may have participated in volunteer in mission teams from other churches. So if your church didn't sponsor an official volunteers in mission team, but another church did, and your members went on that team, that number goes in this box. So this section is where you would put your opportunities for other kinds of mission work. So this is any mission opportunities that you do locally. This includes mission trips that aren't official VIM trips. This is the total number of mission ministries that you offer. They want kind of a subtotal of that have to do on health issues and then have to do with ministry with the poor, justice issues, inclusivity, those kinds of things. 21A and 21B should probably equal line 21, although it is not self-calculating. And there are a few instances when they don't exactly line up. So this is the number of people from your church who are participating as leaders or servers in the ministries that you count in line 21. Again, these are unique individuals. If you have 5 mission ministries, and you have a person that attends all 5 of them, you only count that person once. This is those who are served by your mission ministries. If you have a food bank and you feed 200 people weekly, that would be 200. If you have a food bank, a clothes closet, and a tutoring program, each with 100 participants each, that would be 300. So these are for the number of people served. All right, I'm going to pause there for questions. And I'm going to actually, if I can.
Somebody has a question on numbers on table, line number 7.
Line 7, yes. What's the, let me see if I can pull it up.
They just want to know where they get the answer, where they can find that number.
You have to calculate that number. So someone in your church should be taking attendance, so to speak, every Sunday, just a head count, and keeping record of that all year long. And you simply add up all those numbers and divide by 52, and that will give you your average. So if you are not doing that, make your best guess for this year, and then for 25, have someone begin to count every Sunday and record a head count for your services.
And a note on that for your average, if your church has 2 services per Sunday, you don't divide that number by 2. It's still just the 52 for that day.
Right. So if you have 100 in your first service and 100 in your second service, the number for that Sunday is 200. Did I miss any others, Carly?
Then there's we have a monthly messy church for children and families. Where do these participants and attendance get recorded?
So the number, if it's an ongoing regular monthly thing, will be included in your average worship attendance if you consider that a worship service. If you consider that a formation group or a small group, then it would be included in either of those sections. The numbers in terms of participants, whether or not they go on the lines around constituents or not, depends on how you track them. So if you are having, if you are identifying a core group for attending regularly, and you are finding that your church is connecting in them ways beyond the messy church event, you're visiting them when they're in the hospital, they're taking communion to their homes, those kinds of things, then you can count them as either as constituents, basically. Did that answer that question? Whoever asked it can unmute and just say yes or no.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Angela. I thought that might be you. Let's see, anything else I missed, Carly?
Nope, that's it for now.
Okay. Well, you actually have done it. This is the end of table 1. I was a little bit long, sorry about that, but we will jump into tables 2 and 3 shortly. I want to give like a 7-minute, literally, break and give a word of greeting to anyone who may have joined recently, but take a breather, fill your cup, empty your bladder, whatever you need, and hurry right back. I think I have 7 minutes have gone by, so we're going to go ahead and crank up to be faithful to your time. We are going to move into tables 2 and 3, and the wonderful, before you begin table 2 or table 3, the place to start, well, I messed that up. Anyway, I'll come back to that. The top of tables 2 and 3 are the same. All the information is the same as on table 1. Just if you have any questions about that, it probably pretty much makes sense. But the place to begin before any entry on tables 2 or 3 is with your fund balance report. This report does not have an online entry, but it is the best check and balance against what you're putting on tables 2 and 3. Last year, we revised this form a little bit. So we want to talk about the difference between old language and new language, as we used to ask you to put funds, F-U-N-D, on this list. But it was really actually about accounts. So think financial institutions. Let's say that you have one checking account and one savings account. That is 2 financial institutions. You could have within your internal operations 2 different funds that you use that checking account for, and 4 different funds that you use that savings account for. We don't need the level of accountability of each fund. We are asking on this sheet about financial institutions. And those institutions are broken up into 2 separate categories. The first is cash accounts. So this is anything that is primarily or easily liquid. Checking accounts, saving accounts, CDs, money markets, not very vulnerable to market changes and pretty easily accessible if you need to get cash from them or to them. The second category is investment accounts. These are for your long-term investments. So these are places like the foundation, Merrill Lynch, all those other companies that manage stocks and bonds and portfolios. Most of these do have a greater market risk than the liquid accounts. So we are looking at 2 different kinds of accounts. Yes, that's a typo. I don't know how I missed that, but we will change that on the forms eventually. But just know that the one you download from, or actually, the one you download is correct. This is an old presentation copy, so it will say 24, I believe, on the downloaded form that you take from the internet. Bank accounts for grant funds included. I'm not sure what you mean there, but if it is a financial account owned by the church, that is included in either the investment section or the liquid section. Every dollar and cent that the church owns or is responsible for should end up somewhere on this list. Okay, so column A. Column A is the beginning balance of all your financial institutions. Typically, there are three places where you can find these numbers. One is last year's fund balance report. I don't always recommend that because we're not always accurate on our fund balance reports. The other two places are either on your year end or year beginning statement from your financial institution. Your banks, your investment corporations, your Louisiana Foundation, they all send you annual reports, and they have an ending balance for 24 and a beginning balance for 23. Those are the numbers that should be included either in the liquid section as a beginning balance or the investment section of the beginning balance. This column should be totaled, and theoretically, it should equal the ending total of last year's fund balance report, and theoretically, it should equal last year's, that is 23's, line 25. Again, because we have struggled so much with the fund balance report, sometimes those numbers are off, but we are moving toward hopefully getting a little more accuracy on our fund balance reports and tables to match up so that we can kind of track from year to year where we are. The column total should be either the balance end of 23 or line 23 of the line 25 of the 23 statistical table. Column B is all about deposits. Again, if you take all your statements for the year and you add up everything that's listed as a deposit, either in your liquid account, your checking account, your savings account, those kinds of things, this would also include if you have CDs or your interest, your checking account gains interest, that also is counted as a deposit in this area. So that's true for your liquid, true for your investment accounts, and again, that column should total. This total should equal or come very close to line 23 of your I'm sorry, line 55 of table 3. Table 3 is all about income. So this column should equal line 55 of table 3. Everything that your church received should show up somewhere in this column. Likewise, everything that your church expends should show up in column C. If you took it out of checking, you took it out of savings, you cashed in a CD and spent it, all of that goes in column C, liquid or investment, and again, the column totals. This total should equal line 50 of table 2. That's the total expenditure of table 2. Column D is for transfers and or changes in market values, gains or losses in some instances, particularly in your investment accounts. This column should not be monies from outside. So if you have a checking account and a savings account and you transfer money from your savings to your checking, that is not an income or a deposit. It's a transfer. Theoretically, this column, except where it represents market loss, should total zero. The reason for that is if you're taking it out of one of your accounts, it should go into one of your accounts, or in most cases. Now, you could spend directly from one of the accounts, but that should actually end up in line C. Column D is actually for transfers between accounts. Then that takes us to the balance at the end of the year. You should be able to take your account, start at the beginning balance, add the deposits, subtract the expenditures, make the positive negative change from your transfers, and that should be your end of the year balance. That should be equal to or pretty close of your financial institution's end of the year account balance. Now, there are occasionally some differences in that are minor. That is caused by one, either checks that haven't cleared yet, or the fact that your financial institution doesn't exactly close books on the last day of the month. If that is close, you know that you have counted everything that you have done. And if you total all the way to all the columns, you should be able to both the total of column E and the total of row total amount should be the same. If you go down or you go across, that number should be the same. That number is the number for line 25 on the table 2. That is your liquid assets. That is how much cash your church has. Andrew, in most cases, depending on the type of account, interest earned is included as a deposit. If you want, sometimes it can be included in column D, but it kind of shows up best as a deposit. Also note that I am not talking about necessarily unrealized gains. Those are difficult to track, and these this is for actual cash on hand kind of thing. So your financial, particularly your investment accounts may have some unrealized figures. Do your best as you can with those. Any other questions about the fund balance report? Cool, y'all are on top of things then. Moving on.
We have another question just popped up.
Yeah, Aletha, I'm going to answer that when we get to table 3. It does show up, but that money is deposited somewhere. And on the fund balance report, it goes wherever you deposited that money. And then I'll talk more about where it goes on the form when we get to table 3. Before you begin table 2, you must do the itemized worksheet. I'm not going to go over all of these, but a couple of things that I want to say about the worksheet. Angela, I'll circle back to that UMW question as well. The itemized worksheet are suggestions of the types of things that go in each column of table 2. It may not cover everything that your church expends money on, but it does give you an idea of the types of things that go in each category. So if there are things that you spent money on, but they're not specifically listed here, find the category that matches best and put it under the other category. Every expenditure of the church needs to end up on table 2 somewhere. And the total of table 2, when we get there, must equal the total of column C, whatever it was, the expenditure total on the fund balance report. Just a quick glance at some of these other things. Line by line, note that line 45 is the only place that salary goes. So when you see under program expenses, things like children and youth and those kinds of things, that is not for salary. That is for program expenses. All salaries will go somewhere on line 45. Unless you have questions about some kind of categorization, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on where these kinds of things go. You are also always welcome to email me if you have questions. The other two things that are important to note about the worksheet is that lines 41 through 47A are the figures that are used in the apportionment formula. So when you enter this online, you should also see a line called 47T. 47T totals for you only the apportionment, the items used to calculate the apportionment. And you can look at last year's versus this year's to see if there is a big difference in how they're going to be calculated. I will say that we are in a bit of a examination and transition period. The apportionment formula may change by the time we get to 26, but that is undetermined at this particular point. Any questions about the worksheet itself? Linda, that I'll show you that on line 2. I mean, on table 2, we'll get there in just a couple of slides.
Okay, but should it be included on this itemized worksheet?
Pastor salaries are not included on this worksheet. There is another worksheet specifically for pastor salaries.
So for the expenditures, that money we've spent, that won't equal to what's on the fund balance. Is that correct?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
So table 2 worksheet is not the final number.
Okay.
The table 2 worksheet is actually imported into the actual table 2. And on that table 2 that we'll get to in just a minute, you'll see that all these categories, all these columns plus more are included, including the pastor's salary.
Okay. Okay.
And apportionments.
Okay.
And Angela, the question about the UWF funds is dependent upon under whose EIN number the account is registered. if they use the church's EIN number, that is technically the church's money and should be accounted in this way. If they are on their own, I think conversation needs to be held because there are legal things that I don't know about should they be incorporated and how do they hold funds on their own and liabilities and all of those other things. So if the UWF is using the church's EIN number, then it should be included on the fund balance report. And it would, their expenses, not necessarily their income, would show up on table 1 under UMW paid for projects and other kinds of things.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so that's the worksheet. So we are looking now at the actual table 2. I didn't give you the picture of the whole table, but what you're looking at is the top portion of table 2. So line 24 is the market value of your property. Anything tangible, anything physical, your property, your buildings, your vans, anything like that, computers, whatever. Your market value. Now, a lot of times, what people put in this category is your insured amount, which is not exactly the same thing. So your market value is if you sold it, how much could you get for it? Sometimes you have to do a little work and actually, talk to some realtors, figure out what your market value really is. What is the value, the resale value of your property? That's what they're actually asking for here. If you happen to put your insurance value and or replacement cost, that's acceptable, but it's not preferable. But it is what we have done for many years. So this number also should have some correlation to the trustees report. We're not going to look at the trustees report today, but this is a part of the trustees report. And you'll see again that the trustees report asks for a replacement value of your items and the amount of coverage. There should be some correlation, but not full, between line 24 and the replacement cost. I will say that there are circumstances where the market value is considerably lower than the replacement cost. Stained glass windows are expensive. Stained glass windows in nice country churches where nobody lives anymore don't have a high market value. So there is a difference again between market value and replacement cost, but those correlations need to be looked at, and the trustees need to make sure that what you have is covered by your insurance. Now, I also need to say that insurance is a major problem for most of our churches today. And there are churches who are having to make hard decisions about insurance coverage. I want you to know that the conference, the bishop, the cabinet understand that. And if you need to make some of those hard choices about some of your buildings not being covered, or that you drop roof and hail or hail and wind, please talk to your district superintendent about that. By discipline, churches are supposed to carry insurance. We understand the complexity of the insurance situation in Louisiana, and there is grace there, but there does not need to be surprises attached to that grace. So if you are unable to offer coverage for the value, the replacement cost of your property, please talk to your district superintendent and understand that if you are uninsured and have a catastrophic loss, the conference will most likely not be able to assist you very much in replacing what you have lost. So that's line 24. Line 25 is your liquid assets. Again, this should be the ending balance total of the fund balance report. You should be able to just transfer that number over. Debt secured by physical assets. These are mortgages on your property. It could also be loans on your vans or church vehicles, anything that is secured by some type of loan or mortgage goes in this category. You need to make sure that line 26 is not greatly higher than line 24. You don't need to be upside down in your collateral. So there is a correlation between line 26 and line 24. Other forms, oops, I didn't get there. So other debt would be things like if you have a church credit card, if you have, if you're leasing your copying machine, those kinds of debts, temporary, you owe the paper company, they deliver and you pay later invoices. It does not include things like utility bills. It does not include those ongoing kind of operational expenses, but other forms of debt. Sorry. So we're gonna quickly run through some of these other these next few lines. Everywhere where you see the word imported, those figures, when you get to the online entry, will be imported automatically for you by the conference. Those will most likely not be imported until the very last day, the weekend that the online reporting closes. So if you print your reports before these figures are imported, your totals may be off. So if you wait until the day, until later to get your final copies, you'll have all of those figures imported for you. The other thing to note is that for 24, there are not district apportionments. So this line will be blank. Your district apportionments are a line item of your conference apportionments. This was left in there this year, again, purely because we are expecting new tables in 25, and we will make that change then. But do not expect anything to be put into lines 28B and 29B. So Linda, this is where the apportioned amount will go and it'll be imported for you.
Okay.
Also imported are your advanced specials. All of those will be imported for you. So those are the ones that are imported from the conference. Line 37, you will have to enter. And this is money that you sent to United Methodist Causes, but not through any advanced special, not through the conference office, not through the treasurer, the conference treasurer. For example, if your church sends money directly to the Methodist Children's Home, to Lydia Patterson, to Redbird Mission, to Centenary, not Centenary, so to speak, but yeah, it could be. So any United Methodist affiliated institution that you send directly to them, not through the conference, goes on this line. Line 38 is imported from the worksheet. So the previous worksheet, there's a column that says line 38. Everything that you put there will end up here. Likewise, there is in that worksheet a place for all your pastor's expenses, including things like salary, utilities, pensions, insurance, whatever you pay. When you fill that out online, because there are separate PDFs and a single online worksheet, those figures will be imported for you for all your clergy. Whatever clergy expenses that you have will go on will be imported from your worksheet. Pay attention to line 41C. 41C is for compensation paid to deacons who are appointed as their primary appointment to your church. That doesn't mean that they serve someplace else, but the primary, the only place they serve is your church. They serve as an associate pastor, they help in worship, they do counseling services through your Christian ed people, but they must be appointed directly to your church. I am unaware that any of our churches do this anymore. We had a couple that did for a while, but most likely this line should be blank for most of you. That's 41C. Again, all of these pastoral figures are imported for you. Line 44, pay attention to. This is for non-accountable reimbursables. Our conference does not allow those. So there should be nothing in this blank. Again, when the new forms come out, this line will not even be on the forms anymore. There are places earlier in the worksheet to include your accountables, which are things like utilities, conference expenses, book expenses, robes, those kinds of things must be accountable. So there is nothing in this particular blank. All of these are also imported from your worksheet by column, other staff, salaries, program expenses, operating expenses, insurance, and totals. So all of these will be imported from the worksheet. This is why you can't do table 2 before you enter the table 2 worksheet. Line 48, you will have to enter. This will be taken from your records, whatever you paid on your indebtedness throughout the course of the year. This does not include things that occurred within the single year. For example, if you took out a loan and paid it back in the same year, that would not show up on this line. Alton, I see your question. I'll circle back to you. This is for long-term, ongoing, year-to-year loans, debts, and mortgages. Amount paid on capital expenditures is from your worksheet. I also want to point out that capital improvements are not included in your apportionment formula. So use the basic guideline that if you are repairing something, it is a maintenance item and goes on the maintenance column. If you are replacing something, even if it's light fixtures or a roof or air conditioning systems, those are capital improvements by our standards, and they go on line 49. So circling back to the question about insurance, if insurance paid for your roof, this is where the expenditure for those insurance funds would go. Whatever you paid out to that the insurance paid to have repaired or replaced, that goes on this line 49. So Alton, I'm not sure I fully understand. The housing must be according to what you, well, let me say it differently. What a pastor is owed is what was put on the charge conference form for 24. What goes on the statistical report of the pastor's compensation is what was actually paid. At this particular point, the pastor themselves cannot change that amount. You can, however, through your accountant, include that on your tax return, but that's not for this particular form. And you'll have to deal with tax professionals for that. I am not qualified to make that for you. But your charge conference compensation form determines the limit of what that pastor should get for housing. The statistical reporting form should be what was actually paid up into that amount. If more was paid, it could go there, but it can't necessarily be decreased from the base compensation on these forms. And if you have questions about that that are more complicated, check in with your district or give me a call or send me an email.
Thank you.
This is part of what the pastor's compensation online. Actually, this is the online. This is the worksheet. That's just to show you that it's there and you have places to put that. I did want to point out line 1H. If your pastor moved this year and you paid moving expenses for them, that does need to be included there, and it's an addition and has to be included in their compensation. That is both for, it's an IRS rule, and it also affects their pension amount. So make sure that you include any moving expenses on that line. That is table 2. Any questions about table 2? All right, we're going to forge ahead. Table 3. First thing on table 3 is the number of giving units. So this is basically just the raw number of people who give regularly to your church. One of the ways to check this number or to kind of get a good idea is to look at the number of statements that you send out. Sometimes it can be determined by the number of pledges, but sometimes you have regular givers who don't pledge. So what you are looking for is the number of people whom you can pretty much count on giving every week, every other week, every month, every quarter. Your regular givers, how many in total is that? Sometimes you have to be careful about families. For example, in my case, what I give and what my wife gives actually only represents one giving unit because we track that as a family. However, there are some couples who want individual statements and want to separate what the spouses give. In those cases, you would count each spouse as an individual giving unit. Line 52A is for amounts received through pledges. If someone pledged and fulfilled that pledge, that's where those figures go. If you do not have a stewardship campaign where you ask for pledges or estimate of giving cards, that line will likely be 0. 52B are regular givers, but you don't. They don't pledge. They don't send in an estimate of giving card, but you can pretty much count on them giving the same amount every time, whether that's weekly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly. And again, this is an amount and not the number of givers. It will 52C would be things like your loose plate offerings, your occasional givers. You had visitors who give, or somebody who just put cash in the plate and didn't give you any envelopes or anything. It's basically monies that you receive that will be untracked and that you will not actually send that is occasional, and you probably won't send a statement to at the end of the year. Interest and dividends transferred in this is from primarily your like CDs, money markets, savings account. If your checking accounts bear interest, it would go here. I will repeat this in a moment, but keep in mind that this is income whose end purpose is only operating expenses. So this is not for designated funds, memorials, those kinds of things. This is interest earned on monies that will eventually be spent in the current year for operating expenses. Amount for sale of church assets. You sell property, you sell buildings, you sell your van, you sell your copier, goes on this line. Again, only if the proceeds will be used for current year operating expenses. Same for building use fees, donations for the use of the building, contributions. For example, our church receives a gift from the AA groups that meet here. It's not really an ongoing thing, but we don't charge them for use of the building, but they contribute. That goes here. Again, the key is the proceeds are intended for use for operating expenses in the current year. Same for fundraisers, chicken dinners, bake sales, cakewalks, goldfish sales, whatever it is, if the proceeds are used for operating expenses in the current year. And then the total of all of those. Again, you see there the emphasis on budget spending plan. I want to say to you that if this were anything that would normally be considered a normal operating expense goes here. For example, There have been churches in the past to avoid on the expense side. They would have people designate their contribution for utilities. They would pick up a utility bill off of the end of the pew and either pay it directly or give money for that, which would then be used to pay the utility bill. That is an operating expense. Anything that would typically, normally, common sense say this is a current year operating expense, in income for that goes on somewhere on line 52, as opposed to line 53, which is the same categories as above. However, these are for funds not necessarily for use in the current year. These are funds held for special projects, for designated funds, even if they are spent within the current year. These are not normal operating expenses. If you receive money for capital campaigns, memorials, endowments, bequests, any of those kinds of things, other sources, in most cases, this is where insurance proceeds go. If you received money, again, from an insurance company, this is where it would go. PPP or other of those stimulus funds would go here. Sale of buildings that you put into a long-term fund goes here. Anything that is that doesn't fall into one of these other categories and is for a long-term designated purpose goes on this line. And then if you receive money for special Sundays, advanced specials, other forms of directed giving, for example, someone wants to give to the children's home through the church, and they give it to you and you pass it on to the children's home, those kinds of funds would go here. And then again, the total of all income, again, this amount should match that column on the fund balance report. And there is one more category of income. Most of you do not have these. I do not well, we may have one or two churches that are receiving equitable comp funds. That is for pastor salary. If that's you, you'll know it. If you receive funds from the general church or from a grant from our conference, those forms would go here. If you receive grants or funds from other institutions, let's say you applied to a eco foundation and they gave you money, or a non-religious foundation, they gave you money for something, it would go on in this category. And I spoke too soon earlier. This is the total that should line up on the fund balance report. So that is the end. You have done it. You are now experts in statistical reviewing. What questions do you have? Yes.
At this time, I don't have a question, but I will have. We are without a church secretary, and so we have volunteers in the church office now. So I'm sure I'll be contacting you.
I welcome that. In the instructions that you can download online, you'll find my email. I have also just put it in the chat for you.
Okay.
The earlier that you can contact me with your questions, the better. The online opening will open on January 1 and close on January 17th. If you wait to the 16th or 17th, you may have difficulty with the online. You can begin using the downloadable things now. They're on our conference webpage. Your district AAs are also very able to help. Sometimes a DS can, but you know about DSs.
Yes.
Yeah, don't call us.
I'll tell you, most of the DSs will just call me. So cut out the middle women. Other
Tom,
questions?
I don't have a question, but just a comment on behalf of everyone that's online here. Just want to say thanks to you for doing this because it does help us. It's very advantageous to me to be able to help my people in completing this process. So I thank you for taking the time to do this.
Happy to do it. Happy to do it. I might also mention that we did record this. We're going to clean up the recording a little bit, and it will be on the conference website somewhere. I think most of you registered through the conference website for attendance today. We will send an email to that list letting you know where you can find the recording to that, and there will be other links and ways that you can find that recording on the conference website.
I just put in the chat. It's la-umc.org/stats is the short form of the link to get you to all things statistical reporting. So you don't have to remember that long one. If you type in la-umc.org/stats, it'll get you to all of this, and the recording will be on that page once we get it cleaned up.
All right. I think that's it. I'm going to ask Carly if she will close us in prayer, and then I'll hang on for a few minutes if there are individual specific questions about your church that I might be able to handle. But thank you for what you're doing in this important ministry. I deeply appreciate it, and I am here for you in whatever ways that I can help. Reverend Pigeon, would you close us in prayer?
Be happy to. Yes, thank you, Tom, for this training. I know it is very valuable to all of our folks, and thank you to you all for sacrificing your Saturday morning to do this work. So let us pray. Gracious God, we give you thanks and praise for this day and this time to gather together. I give you thanks for all the churches that are represented here and all the churches of our conference, and for these great leaders who want to do your work and do your work well. God, we give you thanks for Tom and for his willingness to help guide us through this season of statistical reporting, of keeping track and good records of the work in which you've called us all to do. So God, as we leave this place, even virtually, but never your presence, we ask that you send us out into this world to spread God's hope, God's love, God's peace, and God's joy as we continue to build, connect, and equip disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of this world. Go in peace. Amen.